In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to make the perfect pitch every single time, whether you're pitching to a prospect, an existing client, or a candidate. No matter what the situation, the perfect pitch every single time. Please watch through to the end of the video. You'll get some free extras when you get to the end of the video, and the content continues all the way through. And also, as always, please hit the subscribe button and the bell, which means that you get notification of every time there's a new video comes out, which means you don't miss any of the goodies. Hi, I'm Stephen Long. I've spent the last 30 years researching sales and influence skills, and the last 20 years training more than 50,000 recruitment consultants and setting up, building and later selling my own executive search firm working in the financial markets. And if you try and do the maths, yes, I started my own business when I was about 8 years old. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 4 steps of the perfect pitch framework. Now, you'll see a lot of stuff on YouTube and on the web generally from people who build direct marketing campaigns or click funnels and things like that. And they use a slightly different process. They use a 3-step process. But in all my research and testing and all my work in recruitment, I found that there's a 4th step, which if you miss it out, then the whole process just lacks something. It just misses. It just doesn't give everybody the information they absolutely need to take you up on your offer and your proposal. So this 4-stage process is designed to give you every step that you need to maximize the probability of getting the action that you're looking for. First, a tiny bit of context. When I talk about pitch, when most people talk about pitch, they imagine standing up in a boardroom or giving it Wolf of Wall Street and banging it all out there and bags of energy and all that sort of stuff. And it's a lengthy process. Not really. It can be, but the perfect pitch structure. It works for a piece of direct marketing. It works for an in-mail. It works for a 2-minute phone conversation. It works for a written proposal. It works with a candidate. It works with a client. It works with a prospect. It works face-to-face, in writing, on a website, in an email, in a DM, face-to-face and on the phone. Basically, anytime you need to sell an idea to someone, or anytime you need somebody to take an action and they need persuading, that is when you use the perfect pitch structure. In other words, pretty much all the time with pretty much everybody. Stage 1 is the hook. The hook is literally just designed to do the equivalent of making somebody go, that's it, lift their head up, or make their head go to one side and go, It's to get their attention. The hook is an attention grabber. It's a big claim that you're able to help them in some way, or a big claim that you're able to do something for them. So if you're approaching a candidate, your big claim might be that you've got the kind of role that only comes up every 4 or 5 years. If that might be too massive a claim, but I'm just trying to give you a demonstration. If you're approaching a prospect, it might be that you have exactly the kind of candidates that can transform their business. Again, might be too grandiose. So let's take it down a notch. It could be that you simply want to say to somebody, look, as a client of ours, we'll be able to get you great candidates faster and keep them on board longer so that you're able to get the people you really want. That's a big claim. It's a hook. It's enough to get somebody to go, and in their head be thinking, okay, that'd be interesting. Or, that'd be great. They don't believe a word of it yet. But that's not the purpose. The purpose of the hook is to make them interested. It's to make them go, okay. And that's all it's there for. Just to get their attention and focus them. That's all you're trying to do at this point. So the first stage is the hook. It gets them listening, it gets them paying attention to you. The second stage is the story. Now, if you don't like the term story, you could use the term case study or example, but it's the same thing. You're going to tell them a story. You're going to give them an example. You're going to tell them about something that happened with somebody else in a similar situation to theirs and how you were able to help them. Now, why story? Why case study? Why metaphor? Why example? Because that's how people have learned and experienced and grown and taken on new ideas since we came down from the trees. Because if you think about it, if you get together with your friends, you're very unlikely to sit there and just exchange facts with each other. Though I have to say, being a bit of a sad sack, my partner did get me the QI book of facts for a Christmas present. But I am a bit unusual in so many ways. But generally, if you're out for a social evening with your friends, you don't just sit there or stand there and exchange facts. You tell each other stories, you tell each other jokes, which are stories with a payoff. You talk about things that have happened. You talk about things that have happened together, your memories with each other, your experiences. That's how people communicate. That's how people have learned since the beginning of the human race. So telling stories connects with people on a massively deep level. And the only thing that changes, depending on who you're talking to, is the level of formality and the level of detail. And it's nothing to do with their status, it's nothing to do with their seniority or the size of their firm or anything like that. What it's to do with is their personal style. Are they very chatty? Or are they very focused and bullet point, bullet point, bullet point? If they're bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, that's how you deliver your case study or your story or your example. If they're kind of chatty and they talk about things that have happened, that's the way you deliver your case study, story, example. But it's essentially, we were working with somebody in a very similar situation. And what we were able to do for them was this. And the way we did it was that. That's it. We worked with somebody in a very similar situation, and this is what we did for them, and this is how the result that they got. That's basically it. So while the style might change, the content is always the same. The content is just two things. We work with somebody in a very similar situation to yours. Here's what happened, and here's what they got from it. Take a bit of time over it. The style doesn't depend on what you're comfortable with. It depends on what works for the person you're talking to. So you can deliver your story in 30 seconds, or you can deliver your story in 30 minutes. It just depends on the situation and who you're dealing with. Hopefully this is making sense for you so far. So I guess the question I've got is, where do you think this is most appropriate? Is this for using to bring new prospects on board? Is it to sell your services or your vacancies to your candidates? Or is it for getting more or better from existing clients? Just wondering. Once you've got people's attention with the hook and you've got their interest and their focus and they're engaged because of the story, you told them the story or the case study or the example and they've put themselves in that situation and they've imagined how they'll benefit from it. But now is the bit that most systems about pitching just miss out. But now people need facts. They need to know how you'll do it, how it will work for them. Because particularly in a business-to-business situation, people have to sell doing something different to their colleagues. Even if they're the chief exec of the business, they have to sell it to HR, the line managers, whomever. If they are a line manager, they've got to sell it to HR, their boss, their colleagues. Everybody has to communicate and convince people internally. And that's what the facts do. I'll come back to that in a second. But hang on, Stephen. I'm selling to candidates. They haven't got colleagues. They haven't got a boss. Probably not, but they have family. they have friends, and they have to have a convincing rationale. They have to have a convincing case, argument for why they're going to leave one job and go to another, why they're going to leave apparent safety and jump into something new, which is anything new is inherently dangerous. So the facts allow people to rationalize. They are a rationalization that people can use to explain rationally and logically why they've decided to do it. But, and this is a big but, much like mine, what's actually sold them is not the explanation. That's for them to sell other people. What's actually sold the person you're talking to is the hook and the story or case study, because they've put themselves in that situation and they can see, smell, taste the benefits that they're going to get. The facts element, though, is essential if you're going to give them the tools to sell this decision that they've already made to their family, friends, colleagues, peers, other departments, bosses. If somebody's going to go outside the PSL, for example, they need a really good rationale for it. They need a good explanation of why they've taken that decision. And just a case study, however good, however convincing, isn't going to be enough without that arsenal of facts about how you'll do it, how it works, how you achieve those timescales, how. The last stage of the perfect pitch is the call to action. Now, that's not call to action in the sense of social media. You know, it's not please comment below, though having said that, please comment below, because it tells YouTube that you're engaged and you're enjoying it and there's value in it, and they'll show it to other people. It's not share this if you like it. It's not what's your experience. It's a specific action. And I could give you probably 200 or 300 examples of a call to action at the end of the perfect pitch, because it all depends on the action that you want somebody to take. So the call to action for agreeing to a meeting is by definition totally different to the call to action for sending your CV over. So the call to action literally depends on what you're trying to get somebody to do. If you look down in the description underneath, you'll find a link for a download to a totally free guide to how to make the perfect pitch. There's no on sell, there's no trying to get you into a $997 course. It's literally free download. Everything we've covered here, but in a much more detail. So get the link, follow it up, and enjoy the extra information. So, hook. This is how you get somebody's attention. Story. I've done this with 50,000 recruitment consultants over the years, and the kind of results they've got from using this are spectacular because it's such a flexible tool. It's probably the most flexible tool I've worked with, and it gives you the ability to contact completely cold candidates, all the way through to taking an existing client and turning them into retained, or turn them into an exclusive long-term arrangement. I've done both of those, and I've seen people do everything in between those two extremes. And the reason it works is because it gives the other person or the other people everything they need in order to take a decision and then follow that decision through straight away with action. Because you get their attention, you engage them emotionally with the story, then you give them facts to rationalize the decision they make while they're listening to the story and the examples. And then the call to action engages them and gets them to do something now, which turns a feeling of desire and a feeling of vague intention into a commitment. So what I would suggest for you, either while you're watching this video, hit pause, or just immediately after you've got to the end of the video and liked it and shared it and commented on it and subscribed. What I'd suggest you do is right now, sit down and think of 4 or 5 or more, but at least 4 or 5 examples of what you've done for people that put you in the best possible light. 4 or 5 examples of how you've worked with candidates, 4 or 5 examples of how you've worked with new clients, 4 or 5 examples of how working more closely with a client, an existing client, has transformed their situation. So it's all about what the other person has got from it. Just come up with those 4 or 5 examples. You don't need to write them out in massive detail, but just write them down so you can remember what the stories are supposed to be about. And that will be the start of your toolbox so that you can use the perfect pitch to get the results you want every time, every situation where you need to convince someone to take an action. So this is the bit where I ask you to please like it, and if you haven't already subscribed and hit the notifications, please do. Also, if you have questions, please stick them in the comments below and I will reply as quickly as I can do. Or if there's something a bit more confidential, then please feel free to contact me on Instagram or on LinkedIn. Now, if you go to the main channel page, the information's on there, or it should be up at the top of the screen as well. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. There'll be some recommendations coming up on the screen in a second. Enjoy, and I'll see you soon.